Hey there, and welcome back to Total Geek Live. We're happy to have you here. I am Baltimore. With me, as always, is John Kaiser, Danny Gunter, and Guy Chapman. Today we have a very wonderful treat for you. This is our Twin Peaks episode. With us, we have a super fan. His name is Peter Macklin. He's going to give us all the dish about Twin Peaks. Now.
Yay!
Yay! Welcome to Total Geek Live, Peter.
Yes,
We're happy
thanks
to
for
have
having
you.
me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. So I would like to know from you, there is a certain photo of you from a yearbook that's circulating around with a certain phrase. How did this come about?
That's right. Well, listen. Oh, before I get into anything, let's just say this. We are up to now episode 15 of season 3. So if you haven't seen up to that, you might want to catch this video once you've seen all of that, because some things might come out during this conversation. So that's, again, episode 15, season 3. That being said, full on, let's go. I've been a Twin Peaks fan since it was on. And there was a group of friends of mine that watched it every week. And we had a Twin Peaks party centered around Who Killed Laura Palmer. Nice. That date was on November 10th, which also was my birthday. So we had a Twin Peaks Who Killed Laura Palmer reveal party on my birthday. But because Twin Peaks was so much more important than my birthday, Twin Peaks was first. And then...
and there's some cake and something too. Yeah,
exactly. But the quote from my yearbook is from that episode, and it's Aunt Sarah, Uncle Leland, what's that smell? Ah! Fans will know what I'm talking about. And that made it into my yearbook, and that's my yearbook quote.
That's pretty fantastic.
Very, very nice. You didn't have to pay off the yearbook committee people or anything like that, huh?
No, I just put it in there. If I did have to, I didn't pay. So yeah, so through the years, I've been even more obsessed. I grew more obsessed. The movie came out, Fire Walk with Me, and then there was about a 25-year hiatus. And in that 25 years, I would dream new footage. I would dream new storylines. I would dream new, just new Twin Peaks stuff. And the fact that it came back, that it's back, is like, it's mind-blowing. It's still mind-blowing. Like, even, I think once we get to the end of episode 18, that's when it will finally hit me that I've just watched 18 new episodes of Twin Peaks.
So you can see it's like a dream come true from all those dreams you kept envisioning. And
if you're dreaming a lot of dreams, kind of like Del Cooper dreamed dreams.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all sort of interconnected, and it's pretty meta. A lot of this new season gets meta. Or it has potential to get meta. Mm-hmm. So me dreaming about dreams in Twin Peaks is very happy.
That's really cool. I mean, I think one of the things that's pretty fascinating about the revival is how many of the actors from the first series came out of retirement just to do this new season. I think it's up to 39 of the actors coming back that have retired came back to be a part of the season. I think that's a testament to David Lynch's vision. I think it's a testament to, his and Mark Frost, their story and creation and their ability to tell a story that's interesting and kind of quirky, but really fascinating.
That's true. I'd like to add that, hey, actors working, getting more work is always a good thing. So,
yes,
that is true.
Preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
I'm with you in that I was a diehard during the original run, and every week I was there and I was watching it, and it just the fire, I guess, didn't walk with me to this day, as it did with you. But I can't wait to just from talking to you just a little bit before we started recording and this now, I mean, I know you're about to be dropping some knowledge on us. So.
Well, you know, the original Twin Peaks, which, by the way, I brought something with me. This is the original whole box set on VHS.
Whoa.
That's
awesome.
Each one has its own, not each one, but each like group of 4 or 5 episodes has its own VHS.
Mhm.
Wow.
But yeah, so the original, I mean, clearly we can all agree that the original revolutionized television. It changed it, and changed the television landscape from everything that came afterwards, you know, or most things that came after it. That can't be argued. Sorry, what?
It challenged the audience, which is something that hadn't really happened before.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier, and I remember you were saying that, the little guy dancing in the red room.
Yes.
Like, mind blown.
I literally, after that episode, I just walked into my room and I just kind of stood there. And I was trying to process what I had just watched.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I didn't know why I loved it. And it triggered something in me. And I mean...
Well, let me add this, that all that is true, well, in your experience, but also for pretty much everyone who saw that at the time and forward. But this new season, it's that times 100,000. Like,
wow.
Your mind is constantly being blown and constantly being challenged. Because, look, the facts are the facts. Back when it was done, it was on network television. And it had, there were studio executives that were, poo-pooing things, and there were a lot of strictures that were put upon David Lynch and Mark Frost. Also, it wasn't only David Lynch and Mark Frost. Then there were other directors that came in. This new season on Showtime is 100% directed by David Lynch and 100% written by Mark Frost and David Lynch. So that changes everything. Like, I now like to think about and daydream what the original Twin Peaks would have been like had they had ultimate freedom, and it clearly would have been a lot darker.
Yeah. The original series debuted on ABC, didn't it?
On ABC, yeah. It was
that's owned by Disney, so yeah, you're only going to get away with so much for a family channel. So.
Right, especially even back then we're starting right at the 90s.
Yeah. But what they did get away with is shocking. If you watch, let's say, the episode where we find out who killed Laura Palmer, that scene is still the singularly most scary scene that I've seen. It's shocking, it's brutal, and it's violent, and it's like pure David Lynch. And so somehow that made it in and on. I think I read a couple of things about how it did make it on, but it did make it on clearly on air. And I mean, it's brutal for now. Like, if you watch that, it is brutal for now. So some things did get, they were able to I don't know, bypass the censors or whatever they are. But now they don't have to. They don't. There's nothing standing in the way. And trust me, you could tell. I mean, it's hard to describe the without being too specific about things.
Sure.
But what I will say is that David Lynch and his direction, and with Mark Frost's writing and David Lynch's writing, is like a pure pathway into your subconscious. And it's like, I remember the executive of Showtime called this new season pure David Lynch heroin or something. And it's true.
Sounds about appropriate.
That's strong stuff.
Because he's very realistic.
Really strong smack.
I don't know if I can handle pure Lynch. I mean, I gotta cut mine with something.
Got to build up a tolerance to that first. Jump on the Lynch train.
We're talking right now about it as if everyone kind of knows what the story is. So, Peter, would you kind of just, what is Twin Peaks? The kind of just the bare bones what it's about, so that maybe those watching who are just watching to be entertained can understand more kind of what the show's about as we go on.
The first season, or the first pilot episode, is when Laura Palmer is found, actually like Liz, dead, and in the town of Twin Peaks, and the town is rocked by her death. And I think, let's say the pilot, I forget, it's either an hour or 2 hours, but halfway in that pilot, we meet Dale Cooper, an FBI agent who comes in and is talking to his dictaphone to this woman Diane, who we never see in seasons 1 and 2. Season 3, you need to watch and find out. However, and he comes in to find out who killed Laura Palmer. And during the course of that, he finds, and we find as viewers, the lives of different residents of Twin Peaks. And pretty much everyone has something to hide. Everyone has, something up to no good. And so it starts off as a traditional murder mystery in which things are a little off. In fact, a lot off, because people are quirky and stuff. But then by episode 3 is when we get our first introduction into the infamous Red Room and a dream that Dale Cooper has. And it does get pretty supernatural, or maybe that's not the right word. It gets otherworldly.
Okay.
And it stays there for a while. It's not the whole thing, because a lot of the first season and second season have a lot of soap opera elements, and that's pretty much like the other residents of Twin Peaks. But the surrounding situation around Laura Palmer's murder gets into some territory that is pretty frightening. Like, there's no way around that description. It's frightening. So then season 3, so then in between seasons 1 and 2, I should say right at the heels of seasons 1 and 2, the movie Fire Walk with Me came out.
Right.
Fire Walk with Me has a decidedly different tone than seasons 1 and 2. Seasons 1 and 2, we hear about, let's say, Laura Palmer doing cocaine, and we hear about her lewd behavior. In the movie, we see it and we hear it, and it's just a very different. It's sort of shocking, and it was shocking for me. I was, still a very young guy, which I still am, but I was still a very young guy, and when I saw that movie, I was like, "What is that? What happened to my show?" But then through the years, it became one of my favorite movies. So now, 25 years later.
So wait, just to pause. Yeah. How do we get to 25 years later? How does that kind of come up?
Funny you ask. At the end, the finale episode, what we thought was the series finale, in season 2, Laura Palmer is around somehow. I'll keep that. I'll try and go around how she's around, because she's dead. But she says to Agent Cooper, in famous backward speak, "I'll see you again in 25 years." Now, whether or not they planned that, I mean, I don't know. But that was the happiest accent that ever exists in my and it was David Lynch and Mark Frost. And I've heard that when David Lynch and Mark Frost were talking about revisiting Twin Peaks, Mark Frost said, "You must watch this," and reminded him or showed him that very thing. "I'll see you again in 25 years." That's when they were like, "Yeah, I think we should do this."
That's cool.
That's super ambitious if they really had any inkling of that.
Well, I mean, if they did, I mean, that adds to it the sort of meta thing that I'm talking about. Like, they have whatever mythology, because Twin Peaks has a major mythology. But whatever mythology they were starting to create or created in seasons 1 and 2 in the movie had a life. I mean, it was like a living, breathing thing that clearly knew that it needed more storytelling, that there was more to tell. And now we're towards the end, and I got to say, it's on every Sunday. And when the first season, when season 3 started, I couldn't wait for Sundays. This Sunday was the first time I was like, I don't want Sunday to come. That means there's only 2 more Sundays, and then what am I going to do? So my relationship with time is being changed because of Twin Peaks, and Twin Peaks might have some things going on with time within Twin Peaks. So it's all very meta. Everything's interconnected and fun.
One of the things that was pretty interesting. Sorry.
Go ahead.
And I feel like this is a very, back to talking about how they really changed the rules of television, of what a series could and, not necessarily should, but what a series could be. Awesome. They really kind of turned it on its ear. They created a whole mythology, and that wasn't really seen at that time. And I like that they also, like, each episode was basically one day. Mm-hmm. And so, you the first 2 seasons was basically the month in their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty fascinating because in shows, oftentimes you can't tell, what their time frame is, how they know when they're writing it or when they're doing it. But for the audience, sometimes it's difficult to kind of figure out, okay, is this happening on the same day? How do they get here? What's going on? But I really liked they stuck with this. Okay, each each episode is a day. Da 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 da.
That's not the case in the new one, and I'm trying to think if it was definitely the case in the old one, and I'm not sure 100% if that's the case, and if it is the case, then I'm a jerk for not knowing it. I do know there's a 2-week jump in the original Twin Peaks after we finally put to rest Who Killed Laura Palmer. I think I remember there's a 2 weeks later or 2 months later. I don't remember what the time frame was. But no. Time with especially this new season, you can't trust time because there's an iconic line. Is it future or is it past? And they're really taking that
really
as gospel. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Right, because I mean, in season 2, with the whole lodges and stuff, they introduced the manipulation of time.
Yes.
In what happens in the Black Lodge, specifically with Bob. So that right there, from what I remember watching and all that, I'm like, oh, okay, they're bringing in that concept into all of this that's already happening and all that. So you don't, I from then on I was prepared. Man, I don't know what could possibly happen. Moving forward.
That's I think some of the beauty of the storytelling is that because it's so removed from, I guess reality, but it's so removed. There's no way to predict what's going on. People theorize. I have my theories, but we're usually proven wrong in the most glorious of ways.
Right.
Now, are you
because
tracking?
No one can think like Lynch.
Right. I was to say, are you tracking your theories with other Twin Peaks fans and kind of matching notes and saying, like, keeping score? Oh, no, I got this right, or I was completely wrong on this. I mean, is there kind of a competition
for that?
I would say like a kind of a friendly competition amongst Twin Peaks fans.
This is the thing. I'm in the arts. I'm a writer and I'm an actor. So I usually don't get sort of starstruck, and I don't get I'm in this stuff. However, I put that all aside with Twin Peaks. I am the biggest super fan, and I will be in awe. I think you guys have some pictures of me at the Showtime premiere party for fans in Brooklyn, and I was like wearing this shirt actually, but I was like a kid in a candy store. I could not get enough. So that being said, I do follow all these YouTube people and there's some great personalities. There's Pete Peppers, there's Wow Lynch Wow, there's GameStop Universe, I believe, and there's also a podcast that is so in depth and wonderful, and it's by the Entertainment Weekly guys. Jeff Franich and his friend, but it's so complete, and everyone's joy in watching it. So do people compete with their theories? I think people are just relishing in
having that opportunity to have a new season. Yeah.
And just bouncing it off of each other and kind of building off of each other instead of a competition. It's like oh yeah, that's cool. I didn't think of that, but did you think of this? Kind of a collaborative. Yeah,
exactly. And the fans are usually really smart people. In fact, this is something I brought just because I brought. This was released in '95, and this is full of secrets, critical approaches to Twin Peaks. So this is like nerd on top of nerd. This is like PhD people.
Nerdception.
What did you say? My section?
Nerdception.
Yes,
nerd.
Exactly. And it's like all these 20 critical essays about the original Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So there's and I wonder. As I said, this was released in '95. I wonder what these people are feeling now. And I hope they're all watching. I'm sure they
maybe
are.
Another book will come out.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you what's going to come out. There's going to be textbooks about this. I'm not kidding. Let's say I'm going to talk very generally, but episode 8 of this new season is unlike anything anyone has ever seen. And it's there will be essays. I mean, this was done in '95. There will be essay, a whole slew of things coming out after this is done. And
Awesome.
the critical reception of it has been pretty much unbelievable, unbelievably positive, calling it a masterpiece because it is, and the things that we fans are sort of scratching their heads about that are like, oh well, we're not quite sure what that is. We're for the most part trusting that we're going to get an answer. Right. And we're gonna get that itch scratched, and in such a good way, in such a satisfying way.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. So, this whole series started with a question, and in fact, it started with the question, which who killed Laura Palmer? And as we've gone on through the first 2 seasons and then the movie, certainly things get answered along the way. What questions are still left unanswered by the time we make it 25 years later into season 3?
So we're talking about before season 3 starts?
What's still left that has to be covered or is covered as we progress along?
All right. Well, the thing we touched on before about the network, ABC, they ran into problems with the creative team. I don't know if problems is the right word, but anyway, what they did was cancel the show on the hugest cliffhanger ever written.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned. So there were major questions that were left, major, and ones that the movie that came out afterwards sort of touched but didn't go into. So that was another frustration from fans that the movie didn't. I mean, it touched on things because it played with time, because it was a prequel. But we saw 7 days prior to Laura Palmer's death. So in a way that we never knew Laura Palmer because she was dead when the show started, she was the main character of Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. And again, because of this time question, we did get a couple of answers, but nowhere near satisfaction or answering satisfactorily, I guess, the big questions that were left at the end of season 2. So season 3 had the opportunity, and they're taking it, to answer huge questions, which now, obviously, because it's 18 episodes, they have started new questions. There are the whole new things going on. So yeah, it's expert storytelling. It's expert storytelling, and it's also expert filmmaking. I say filmmaking because it's it's not just a TV show. It's like a TV show with an asterisk, with a big asterisk and a footnote that says this is not a TV show. This is like, very special. And you can tell. I mean, you watch something, you watch it, and you're like, oh, like even the colors, even especially the camera angles, because David Lynch is an auteur. You know, anyway. Clearly, I like the show a little bit. So,
but I think, you know, to answer your question, where you have it's a TV show asterisk, this is not really a TV show. I think that comes from the way he approached this, you know, season. You know, I think we've talked about it before, you know, off camera, but he really approaches as a movie broken up into 18 parts.
Right.
Which is, you know, overwhelming, but it's very interesting. And if another director might have approached with that idea, I don't think it would have been as successful or as understood as, okay, David Lynch, let's see what you got.
Well, it's a clearly a very interesting way to approach 18 hours of television, you know, and it was done as an 18-hour movie, and I think that's why some episodes end in like, oh, we're just ending there, because the whole thing as a whole. Okay, this is the thing. This is why so many fans, and myself included, are, you know, really sort of dreading, but also looking forward to it ending. However, once we have the whole thing, all 18 episodes, that's when we go back and say, right, that's why that happened. That's why that happened. Oh, this makes sense, because it wasn't written as like an hour long, you know, this is an hour long closed show, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The whole the closing thing is the whole 18 hours, you know. That's when we'll have the whole canon, and everything, or most things, I think, will make sense.
And so this is it? This is going to be just this one 18-hour season, and then that's it?
As far as we know for television, yes. There's a book coming out, a second book written by Mark Frost, called The Last Dossier, which I'm sure will... Look, I'm pretty positive that we're going to get a lot of closure with this season, but I can almost guarantee there'll be a couple of hanging chads, if you will, of things that are not closed. And I think the book will go into detail with that, because Mark Frost is a very talented writer. His book, The Secret Lies of Twin Peaks, is very thorough, and it starts all the way back from Lewis and Clark.
Wow.
So the mythology is like it's beautifully overwhelming. So this last book, or at least last book as far as we know, that might be the final thing. I know there's a lot of fans out there, and, you know, myself included, that would love a fourth season. I don't know if that will happen.
But given how great this season is, and what it's wrapping up and introducing and tying up, do you kind of not just want this to be it? It's such a beautiful, you know, so far, you know, package that's being delivered. Would you even want it to really go back into it again?
That's the thing. I mean, the only way I would want that to happen is if David Lynch and Mark Frost want it to happen, because I trust them so implicitly, you know, with their creativity and their storytelling, that the only way I would want it to happen is if they want it to happen. And if they want it to happen, then sign me up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
If they think that the story's complete after this, then hey, it's complete. I didn't think for 25 years we'd get 18 more hours. So I'm already
treated
in heaven. You know, I'm already very sated.
Yeah.
And they're such two established figures in the industry that, you know, they're going to be able to, if this is their curtain call and they feel like they've completed what they sought out to do, they're not going to feel any push. I mean, even with the critical reception and all of that, the network could come and say, hey, here's a bunch of money, keep doing what you're doing. But they could just easily say, you know what? No, this is what we wanted to do.
You know, and that's also baked into the show right now. There's I guess a subplot or about a diner. Those who know the show will know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm not giving too much away at all with this, but there's the original Double R Diner, and then apparently now over 25 years it's been franchised out, and there are 6 or 7 of other ones, and the quality of the pies of the other ones have been a subject of exploration, because the quality of the pies in the franchises are lesser quality because they're using lesser ingredients.
Right.
Except in the original one, the pies are not selling as much. No, sorry, the pies are selling a lot, but the ingredients are top notch in the first one, Double R. So it's not that hard to make the jump that they're talking about, you know, commercialization and you know, waters things down. And,
classic Lynch.
Yeah. So it speaks to exactly what you're talking about now, that if and they managed somehow to do it this new season exactly the way they wanted to, with no interference, and like Norma and her pies in the original Double R Diner.
Yeah.
Who would you say are some of your favorite characters, and did they return for the 3rd season, or do you have new favorite characters that?
My favorite character. Well, first of all, I love all the characters. That being said,
you love Bob?
I love Bob. I love Bob, and I'll tell you why. I love Bob. Because he is one scary MF.
Yeah.
And he, do not screw with him. Do not screw with him. It's a problem. I feel like he's been hiding under my bed for 25 years.
He might have been.
So how can I not like that?
Careful about that.
Yeah. My favorite character is, because I feel so badly for her, is Maddie Ferguson. And we figure out who killed Laura Palmer through Maddie Ferguson's situation. And again, I'm being very vague here. I just felt like she was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and had such a good heart. And, you know, what happened. Again, I'm being vague. So she is not in this, that character is not in this new season. Although maybe she might be. She might be hanging around the next 3 episodes. We'll see. But it's also, it was the same actress who played Laura Palmer. So Laura Palmer also played Maddie Ferguson, her cousin. What other? I think they're all great. They're all fantastic. You know, and we do see a lot of them in this new season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they all look great.
So, I mean, refreshing my mind on all this, I totally spaced out and forgot that David Duchovny had a recurring role on here where he was a DEA agent. And I'm trying to figure out my timeline of, X-Files and all that. So, I'm wondering, was this kind of the kicker for him to learn how to, take on that agent role? And
do you know what David Duchovny's character name is on Twin Peaks?
It was Denise Bryson.
Right. Okay. So, besides a couple of
weird.
Besides a couple of cheap shots, in the original season, it's one of the first times, or if not the first time, that a transgender character was treated with respect and like a real person.
Okay, cool.
They are. So it was groundbreaking in that regard. So David Duchovny did play Agent Denise Bryson, and comes back in season 3. I wouldn't. that's the only thing I will say about that. Well, as far as season 3 is concerned,
Right.
But I will say that as far as X-Files, remember that Twin Peaks, broke open television. So X-Files was a direct descendant of Twin Peaks.
Oh, that's what I thought.
So much so that I kind of resent Twin Peaks. Sorry, no.
Superfan denied.
So you resent X-Files.
When it came on, I was like, this is a cheap knockoff of Twin Peaks. You can all screw yourselves. And I felt that way about Northern Exposure, too, because Northern Exposure was like the good Twin Peaks. And I was like, screw this. It's not Twin Peaks. So I had little Peter Macklin had a lot of resentment to these spin-off, well, not spin-offs, but direct descendants of Twin Peaks.
Right.
Now I'm a little more forgiving, but yeah.
Right, because it's just it shows that these other creators were just so inspired by what Lynch and Frost had done.
Well, I know that recently there was a Comic-Con, I guess. Comic-Con, I think, that was in San Diego.
San Diego, yeah.
The person that led the Twin Peaks panel was the creator of Lost, because everyone acknowledges the fact, and the fact is that David Lynch and Mark Frost are who they are, and they created the content that they created, and a lot of things after Twin Peaks is in great. They owe a great lot of their content and approach to their content to David Lynch and Mark Frost and Twin Peaks.
And the network that took the chance on a David Lynch show, I can't even fathom the conversations that went on when the producers, the executive producers, were trying to convince the people with the money that, no, look, it's gonna work. Just let us do this, Yeah. But because they took that chance, and because it was Twin Peaks, the quality and the content that it was there, that allowed the descendants like X-Files and Lost and everything else to come, because then the higher ups saw, oh, we can do content like that. There is money.
Here's proof.
There's proof. So yeah, it opened those floodgates to let a little bit more experimentation come out, and a little bit more, and a little bit more.
Right, and that's where I think a lot of my resentment lied with all these new things, because Twin Peaks got the short shaft because it got canceled.
Because it got canceled, right?
It broke open boundaries and then got punished for it, and then gave birth to the glory days of television. And thank whoever that it's back. Oh, I will thank Showtime. Who did it? I mean, you can't deny that. So I thank Showtime from the bottom of my heart for allowing this to happen, and allowing it to happen on David Lynch's and Mark Frost's terms, which is it says a lot about these executives, And I know that one of the executives was involved with the original one. Like, one of the Showtime executives is one of the ones who gave the green light for the original one. So there's some
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's some sort of symbiosis there. But Showtime gets props. If they want me to take them all out on a date, I'll do that.
Well, the special premiere you went to that Showtime hosted, we were talking about a little bit ago, how did that come to be? Is that something you were invited to, or something because you had your ear to the ground as a fan, you knew about and knew to go there? I mean, what was kind of the genesis of that?
I was doing a show in Baltimore. Not that Baltimore.
Not with
Baltimore.
him?
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah,
tip the waitress on your way.
As an actor, I'm primarily or have been a theater guy. So I was doing Samuel Beckett's Endgame, and a friend of mine texted me or something. No, sent me a link that said there was like this. It looked like it was like the golden ticket from Willy Wonka. It seemed like to me. It was like RSVP to this now, and and it was when I was coming back to the city, to New York, and I was like, okay, and I just said, RSVP'd yes, and I got an email, I guess, a couple days later saying I got in. So this is a funny story. So I'm back in the city, and I know I'm going to this premiere party, wearing this shirt. So I'm, again, all fanned out. I am on the train, the subway, catching the E train, and my phone vibrates. And I look down, and it's a friend request on Facebook from Kimmy Robertson, who plays Lucy on Twin Peaks. And I was like, this is the most strangest timed spam that I've gotten ever.
Right.
This Showtime event, specifically about Twin Peaks, and you see the pictures, it's all Twin Peaked out. And Lucy friends me? And I kind of put it to the back of my, for the rest of the train ride, it was like that had to be spam, and that's weird. So then I'm the fourth person online waiting to get in. So I arrived really early. And then I remembered, oh, right, I have this weird spam. So I opened it up on my phone, and not only was there friend request, but it was a message. I got an instant message from Kimmy Robertson. And I was like, this is false. This is... Right. So I opened it up, and she's like, hey, Peter, I'm in New York. We're doing Good Morning America tomorrow. I'm in the hotel room with Michael, and we say hello. So I accept the friendship, and I see our mutual friend is my friend, Michael, who I know, who lives in Chicago, but I immediately texted him. I was like, do you know her? Did you do this? He was like, hey, I know you're a super fan and we're friends, so I had to put you two together. So there I was online for this party, and I tried to keep it quiet, and then finally I was like, you don't understand what just happened to me. Yeah. So and the party was super well done. It was super well done. I got free merchandise, and it was supremely well done. Yeah.
And what was the theme of the bar? Did they kind of deck it out in a certain?
Oh my God, did they? First of all, it was more than a bar. It was like an event space with many different rooms and 3 levels. So there were.
Wow.
There was one big room that was sort of like a take on the Palmer living room, and then there was another room that was sort of a take on the Double R Diner, and then downstairs you can get your picture taken. I made a video. I was so fanned out, it was ridiculous. I had never done anything like that ever, and I was hog in heaven. And then upstairs was the Black Lodge. Nice. And there were performances that were well done, and it was great, and everyone there was a Twin Peaks fan, so you could pick up anyone just strike up a conversation about Twin Peaks.
Everyone was loving it.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
All right, so I have one really super last question for you, and if you answer it correctly, you'll get a no prize. So the question is, what was Twin Peaks originally entitled?
Twin Peaks Northwest Exposure? No, wait, give me a second. No, that's wrong. No, Northwest Passage.
There we go.
Yep.
I've learned. I feel like I've gained such knowledge. Now, Peter, I just want to take a moment to thank you for coming on. This has really sparked my memories of loving this show as a child. I really, I'm kind of stumbling over my words. I don't generally do that. I mean, my mind is going back to my days as a child, or a young teen, 13, 14, and watching this show, as I said, completely changed my perception of reality, and so thank you for taking the time and talking with us about this. I'm gonna have to go dig out my season 1 DVDs and probably binge watch it and be late for work tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, this was such a phenomenon in the '90s. I mean, it caught everyone's attention. My sister was obsessed with it. I remember when Kyle MacLachlan hosted Saturday Night Live, and they did a whole skit around it. It was just, you couldn't not talk about Twin Peaks in the early '90s, and just kind of really hearing all this, how they've just expanded this lore and everything else. I'm definitely going to have to really follow into this whole new thing and then start asking more questions, because that's what this whole show's been about.
That's great. Hey, listen, once you guys watch it, have me back and we'll talk specifics.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do
really cool.
a whole spoiler episode. Just get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm totally down
had
for
a great
that.
time. Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
Thank you so much, Peter.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter, for coming. So this was our Superfan episode of Twin Peaks with Peter Macklin. Thank you for joining us. We had a great time. And as always,
Yeah.